It was a typical Tuesday morning, the kind where everything feels routine. The sun had barely risen, casting a soft orange glow over the neighborhood. In the kitchen, the mother packed her daughter's lunch while the girl, just 10 years old, tied her shoelaces and double-checked her school backpack. There was nothing unusual about the morning. The girl smiled as she grabbed a piece of toast from the counter and gave her mother a quick hug before heading out the door. "Don't forget your project," her mother called, and the girl turned back with a grin, waving the rolled-up poster board in her hand. As she walked down the sidewalk, her small figure gradually faded from view. She was supposed to meet her friends at the corner and walk the remaining few blocks to school together, like they always did. But that morning, the routine was quietly shattered. By mid-morning, the school office called the house. They asked why the girl hadn't shown up to class. Confused, the mother replied that she had left home hours earlier. The next few minutes were a blur. Panic set in. Her heart pounded as she called her daughter's friends. None of them had seen her. One of them said she never showed up at the corner. The mother jumped into her car and drove the school route herself, eyes scanning every corner, every alley, every parked car. She questioned shopkeepers, pedestrians, even bus drivers. No one had seen a little girl matching her daughter's description. By noon, she had contacted the police. An officer arrived at the house, and the questions began. What was she wearing? Did she have any enemies? Could she have run away? The mother could barely think. Her daughter would never just disappear. Not like this. The hours turned into days, and the case quickly became a missing child investigation. Flyers were printed. News stations picked up the story. Volunteers joined search parties. But there was no sign of the little girl who had left for school that morning and vanished without a trace. Days turned into weeks, and the once energetic home became a quiet shell of grief. The mother stopped sleeping through the night. Her days were consumed with searching, physically walking through woods, abandoned buildings, and alleyways, and mentally replaying every moment of that morning over and over again. She kept thinking maybe she missed something, maybe there was a clue in her daughter's tone, or the way she hugged her. Friends and neighbors initially gathered to help, but as time passed and leads dried up, fewer people showed up to search. The police still followed procedures, but their updates became shorter and more routine. "We're doing everything we can," they would say, though it never felt like enough. She taped missing person posters to telephone poles, store windows, gas stations, anywhere someone might stop and look. The posters showed her daughter's smiling face, frozen in time, with the words, "Have you seen me?" in bold black print. Every time she saw it, her heart ached. She joined online forums, connected with families of other missing children, and followed every possible tip, even the ones that sounded absurd. Psychics, anonymous emails, vague sightings in other cities, each one brought a glimmer of hope followed by another crushing blow. 2 years passed. Birthdays came and went with empty chairs and silent wishes. Her daughter's room remained untouched, as if waiting for her to walk back in. The school mailed her daughter's belongings, unfinished notebooks, a favorite pencil case, and a half-used art pad. She couldn't bring herself to open the box. It felt too final. Friends encouraged her to move on, to accept that maybe she'd never find closure. But she refused. A part of her, deep in her chest, still believed her daughter was alive. Late at night, when the world was quiet, she would sit in front of her laptop scrolling through maps, news archives, missing children databases, anything that might reveal a pattern, a face, a location. She couldn't stop. She wouldn't stop. Somewhere, her daughter was out there. She just had to look harder. It was just past midnight when she found herself once again at the kitchen table, the soft hum of the refrigerator the only sound in the house. The glow of her laptop lit up her tired face, eyes bloodshot from hours of staring at the screen. It had become a ritual, one that brought both pain and a strange comfort. She opened Google Maps, something she'd done hundreds of times over the past 2 years, zooming in on neighborhoods, parks, backstreets, any place where a child might be hidden or kept. Most nights, it led nowhere. Just blurry buildings, unremarkable roads, and frozen images from months or even years ago. But this night would be different. She wasn't even sure why she clicked on that street. It was in a neighboring town she barely recognized. But something about it caught her attention. As she dragged the little yellow street view icon across the map and dropped it near an old-looking neighborhood, the image loaded slowly. A narrow street appeared, with cracked pavement and a row of worn-down houses. She began scrolling, clicking along the road. And then she paused. Her heart skipped. In front of a faded blue house with overgrown grass, there was a car parked in the driveway. But it wasn't the car that made her freeze. It was a shape in the window of the house, a small figure, almost hidden behind the glass. It was blurry, of course. All Google Maps images were. But something about it made her lean in closer. A child. Long dark hair. Small hands pressed against the inside of the glass. Her fingers trembled as she zoomed in. The face wasn't clear, but the posture, the size, it was hauntingly familiar. She grabbed her phone and took a picture of the screen. Her breath caught in her throat. The child in the window was wearing something eerily familiar, a pale pink hoodie with a butterfly patch on the sleeve. Her daughter had worn one just like it the day she disappeared. She stared at the screen, paralyzed by the sudden rush of emotion, hope, fear, disbelief. Could it really be her? Was this just another cruel coincidence, or had she finally found something real? Her hands moved quickly as she noted the address shown on the map. Her heart pounded in her chest, faster than it had in months. She didn't know what she had discovered yet, but deep down, something told her this wasn't just a blurry image. This was a real one. Maybe, just maybe, her daughter was still alive. The morning after the discovery was unlike any she had experienced in the last 2 years. Her hands were still shaking as she sat at the police station, showing them the screenshot from Google Maps. She explained everything, the late-night search, the strange neighborhood, the little girl in the window wearing the same pink hoodie her daughter had worn the day she vanished. At first, the officers looked at her with the same cautious sympathy they had offered countless times before. But when she showed them the image, something shifted. One of the officers leaned in, studying it carefully. Another began typing the address into their system. Within hours, an unmarked vehicle with 2 detectives drove past the blue house. From a distance, they confirmed what the image had shown. There was, indeed, a child in the window, and the house seemed suspiciously quiet for a place supposedly occupied by only one adult. That was enough to issue a warrant. When the raid happened, the street filled with the flashing lights of police cruisers. Officers moved in quickly, surrounding the home. The woman stood nearby, heart pounding in her ears, watching from behind the police tape. She barely blinked as the officers approached the front door with weapons drawn. After a few tense moments, the door burst open. Shouts echoed through the air, orders, questions, commands. Then silence. And then, a small figure was led out of the house. Disheveled, thin, eyes wide with confusion and fear. The moment their eyes met, something in her chest cracked wide open. It was her, no doubt, her daughter, alive. Tears poured down her face as she pushed past the officers. They didn't stop her. She dropped to her knees, arms open wide, and the girl ran into them. They held each other tightly, sobbing, clinging like they'd never let go again. 2 years of fear, heartbreak, and unanswered questions melted into that moment of reunion. The girl was taken to the hospital for evaluation. She had been held by a woman pretending to be her guardian, someone who had manipulated her and told her her mother had stopped looking. But she never believed it. She never gave up hope. And neither had her mother. News crews arrived soon after, but the woman ignored them all. She didn't need the headlines or the cameras. All she needed was the weight of her daughter's head on her shoulder, her arms wrapped tightly around her. After all this time, she was finally home.